Oh, wait, 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 wait. Oh, you know what? Actually, if you keep the camera like this, I'll keep it like this. I don't have a background, but whatever. I don't need one because it doesn't look too messy. Keep it like this. I was like, I just realized my green screen wasn't up, but I don't need it.
Okay, okay, we were already live here. So,
Oh,
um, Jimmy, that's all right. It's okay. We a little impromptu start here to Better Odds Sports Betting. Kiev and myself getting back together here. We're trying to do this at last second, everybody. So we haven't talked here for a little while, Kiev. It's been a little while, and we're just kind of getting things going again. I know it was a holiday season and a lot of different schedules and stuff, so we wanted to do a last second college football title game and a little bit of a recap of the NFL playoffs from this past weekend. So happy to be back with you again here, Kiev, for Better Odds Sports Betting. How was your holidays, man?
oh, they were fantastic. Just lots of relaxing, eating a lot of great food, man. I think we just tried to indulge calories because if the bigger you get by New Year's, the more weight you can lose in January is the way I think of it. But yeah, definitely scrambled last minute here. I usually have a green screen, but my place doesn't look too
That's
trash, so it'll be
fine.
okay right now. But yeah, it's been fantastic, Kyle. Thanks for asking. Had a great NFL day yesterday, up over 18 units.
Nice.
It was just one of those great season finishers because week 18 can be very dicey, but I was able to middle the Cleveland game, which was something that I was proud of, and then a couple of I hit the big teaser. The Raiders came through for me, and it was just a great day yesterday. But Kyle, it has been a while. I'm really happy that you're back on with me. And how was your holidays?
It was very good, man. Very good. We've had some hectic times going on, certainly, and you and I have had a little bit of different schedules and stuff. I know we've done some one-offs individually and to keep things going, but it's nice to be on here again. And yeah, I always I love the Christmas time, and there's always too many cookies around. I always tell myself I'm not going to eat too many of them, and then it doesn't exactly happen. But and then New Year's, I love New Year's as well. We had some great bowl games, Kiev. There were some really fantastic games, and then we'll lead into yesterday saying too. I mean, gosh, what a final for the Raiders and the Chargers last night. Kiev, I thought I was going to watch the end of that game and then get back to work on my college basketball for today, like, 5 minutes later. Turned out being like an hour later that I got back to looking at the games. But I didn't hate it, that's for sure. I liked the way that game went. It was so fun at the end of the game. It seemed like the script for the Chargers was basically get to fourth down and then complete a really long fourth and long. And, it just felt like that was going to be just the sickest way to lose a game if you're a Raiders fan. And then the Chargers, I mean, the Chargers fans, I know over the years they've taken a lot of heartbreak. And that was a tough way to lose a game again. But man, what a fantastic finish as far as drama.
Yeah, it was. And the Chargers were out of the game. I mean, they came back a lot of fourth downs. They got some penalties their way, but I will agree that those penalties, a lot of them should have been called. And there's one fourth down. It's like he held them that you have to call. It's not because he's trying to make it cheat for them or anything. That was actually a good call. So I want to applaud the officials by some of that. On the other end of the spectrum, though, they've also missed a few things. There's a blatant face mask that would have been called. The game would have been over at that point. And when they called it like that on the other side for less of a face mask, you're like, holy cow. Sometimes these refs look a little too excited to do things. So it makes you definitely think differently about them. But yeah, this game was a game that will not end. And I told my wife, this game's not ending. And that was before overtime. And, of course, me and you are watching it because of our good friends, Chris Farley and Steve Norman. They had they're probably going to be one or two levels higher if the Chargers won. I'm hoping they had or if the Chargers won, I was hoping they hedged on plus 140 on the Raiders, but who knows? They were probably out having a good time. Maybe they did hedge, but what a fantastic finish for them, 4-1. Probably on the top eight, top seven, I would think at the circus. So I'm very proud of our guys over at the Oddsbreakers and our friends at Sports Wagering University. It's just so cool, Kyle.
Oh man, fantastic job by Chris and Steve in that contest. I know both you and I were texting them yesterday. To be honest, I was kind of sweating their plays just about as much as my own. I actually only had the Dolphins yesterday, so that was a good one. But I was sweating out the end of those games, and honestly, they probably should have covered the Browns game. I mean, the Bengals didn't deserve to be as close as they were yesterday in that game. But then, I was afraid that they weren't going to get that Bills one, even though the Bills weren't giving up anything to the Jets. And that ended up coming through. A nice comeback for the 49ers. What a season for Chris and Steve, and definitely have to be in the top 10 there in the Circa. And, you had a nice season in the Circa too, Kiev. I mean, there's so many people in that contest. You were like, top 10% or something like that. So it's nice to have a lot of sharp people that we talk to, and we kind of see this as a community, right? It's a group of people where we try to help each other. And I know Chris and I were going back and forth the other night, and Chris was like, "Man, I'm just so thankful for everybody in this community because unlike a lot of other areas of Twitter and social media in general, we've kind of got this group of people that we just try to build each other up and help each other instead of there's not some competition about who's going to be better than somebody else or anything like that. So fantastic to see them doing so well, and fantastic to see a great end to the NFL season. As a Bengals fan, I was happy that the Raiders won that game because I think that gives my Bengals a chance to maybe finally win a playoff game. I am really surprised they're favored by 6 or 6.5 already here, but I think that's a better matchup for them than what the Patriots have been. And I guess, Kiev, real quick before we go into Georgia, Alabama, are there any thoughts that you have on the futures odds here to win the Super Bowl based on what the playoffs look like?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. One thing I do want to throw out before about that game last night with the field goal, how weird that was. It says, "Oh, if they wasn't going to take a timeout, we would have just wanted to tie it." Well, the timeout only left 4 seconds left on the play clock anyway. It's not like they took the timeout to extend the time that they had a chance to. It was just a confusion on defense, and they weren't completely sure the Raiders were going to do that. So I when I saw the Raiders kind of dogging it, I was sure they were doing it, and I guess maybe you would think that the coach would pick up on those things, but not everybody does. I was like, and I tweeted out, they're trying to tie the game, and I thought the Raiders kind of were. They're dogging it. I mean, why else would they dog it? But the coach froze up and took the timeout, and it was probably also a formation thing. But at the same time, the Raiders didn't necessarily have to say "F you" and we're going to win anyway. But at the same time, there's so many like back and forth philosophies of if they should have done that or not. It's like you're going to leave it to the officials' hands, or you're going to leave it to a kicker's hands. What if it gets blocked and they take it all the way? I mean, with the way games are officiated, we'll say, go for the tie. I thought they're going to tie, but there's a lot of people happy that they didn't, and these are division rivals. I mean, if the Bears and the Packers were here and the Bears gave the Packers a tie, I would have been pretty pissed
Yeah,
off as a Bears fan myself. So it
yeah,
was just very strange how that whole thing ended up. But I was on the Raiders myself, but I was more rooting for Chris's plays and Steve's plays. So either way, he did great. I went 4-1 in the Circa myself last week. So I'm probably definitely in the top 10% for sure. But thank you for mentioning, Kyle. Futures in the NFL. I looked at them briefly this morning, and I got to tell you, they're bad. They're real bad because let's just start out. The Packers are plus 380. Well, that's great. 3.8 to 1 to win the Super Bowl. But think about it. This is 3 games. Let's say the Packers are playing the Niners or something, right? Or even the Cardinals. I don't know who they're going to get seeded against. I mean, I think the lowest one's the Eagles, and they're supposed to be beat. They're not going to be much of maybe 5 or 6 point spread in the most case, which is, you're looking at minus 180, minus 200, and that's the first game. So a money line rollover makes way more sense to do it. A money line mechanical parlay. You bet a unit or whatever you want, and then you take your profit and what you bet and put it all in the next game, and it keeps doubling up like that. It'd be a perfect double if it's plus 100, of course, but you know what I mean. It grows exponentially because you keep putting more and more in the next game. And then the Packers in the NFC Championship game, that thing's got to be minus 3.5. You'll be laying minus 160, minus 170. That's another easy price for you. In the Super Bowl, heck, if they're facing the Chiefs, who knows? I mean, this could be close to even odds you're going to get. So you're probably going to get 6 or 7 to 1 just doing a money line parlay on the Packers there itself. These are pretty low price. You look at Dallas at 12-1, and they're going to have to go to Green Bay. They're going to be plus dogs. That they have 3 games to go. That's not going to be good because they're going to be dogs in at least that one game. The Niners are at 20-1. They're already a massive, what is it, 4.5, 5 point dog right now to Dallas. Oh, it's 3.5. It looks like, but still, these prices aren't great. If I was going to pick a dark horse for you, I would say the Bengals personally, because I think the Bengals have Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow's a big wild card, and Kyle is a Bengals fan, so how can I not pick them, Kyle?
Hey, boy, I hope you're right, Kiev. I'm going to stay away from betting anything to do with the Bengals. I just want them to win a playoff game, and I'm a massive Burrow fan, so they're a lot more fun to watch, that's for sure, than they used to be. Paul, thanks for being here. I see he's been a Raiders fan for a long time, but he lives in Florence, Kentucky. He's going to bet on the Bengals here, so
Ooh,
um, that's nice, Paul. So you kind of have a rooting interest on each side in that one, but. I think the matchups are fun for the first round, and as far as the futures, I had somebody ask me this one, Kiev. I'm kind of curious your thoughts. What do you think of the Titans? I mean, because the Titans are the number 1 seed. They get the bye. They're plus 800 at BetUS, which you can sign up at betus.com. Use the better odds to get a bonus there at BetUS, which certainly recommend that. BetUS is a great sports book. But plus 800 to win the Super Bowl. You're supposed to like something like this when they get the bye, but I don't really think the Titans' upside is nearly as high as a lot of the other teams. And regardless of who wins that first game, I think they'd have a real shot against the Titans. So I don't know that I love that. What about you, Kiev?
I don't like the Titans at all
Yeah,
personally, and they're my lowest power rated team out of any of the playoff teams, and it's not like they're that much below average. One thing I will say is you didn't get a really bad team in the playoffs that snuck through. I think if I look at my power ratings right now, and I'll pull up the Titans, I have them number 14, right? And then Philadelphia is above them. I have Baltimore above them that didn't make it, but they haven't had Lamar for like 3 or 4 weeks, of course. And I have the Colts above Baltimore that completely blew it, right?
gosh.
But I know, just awfulness. But for the most part, New Orleans I had lower. Actually, let me cross it out. I actually have Pittsburgh lower than
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Tennessee. That's my lowest one for sure. And I have them slightly, I guess, below the average NFL team. But they're a massive dog at 13 points anyway. Now, personally, anything can happen in the NFL, and they're certainly on a roll right here. But that's the game with the biggest variance personally, and it wouldn't surprise me. But no, I do not like the Titans, and their price is terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you do like the Titans too, even though it's tempting to say, well, plus 800 with the number 1 seed, again, a money line rollover is going to get much better than 8-1. No doubt about that. I don't think you'll have to worry about it because I don't think the Titans. If you like the Titans, you would want to take that instead of the futures price. Kiev, I think it's going to be fun too having a Monday night game in the playoffs. I believe that's the first time, right? I don't remember any Monday night game, especially in the wild card round early on here. We're going to have a really fun weekend of NFL games. So I'm looking forward to that. I think the games that probably intrigue me the most, obviously the Bengals game as being a Bengals fan, but San Francisco Dallas is a great game. That should be really fun. Arizona, the Rams on Monday night is also a really good game. But we could talk for a long time. Let's get over into the college football title game, Kiev, because you and I love college football. I won't speak for you, but I do love college football more than I love the NFL. I think you probably do too. But we got to wrap up here college football today, and then we'll have plenty of time to talk about the NFL playoffs in the future as well. So Georgia and Alabama, a rematch of the SEC title game. Georgia is favored by 3 most places. We've seen 2.5 minus 120. It's bounced back and forth between Georgia minus 2.5 minus 115, and then Georgia minus 3 about minus 105, somewhere in that area. I don't expect this one to go anywhere other than 2.5 or 3 before kickoff. This is right in the fair area. I'll just start off by saying here, I don't have a big play on this game by any means. My favorite bet in this game, betting on the game, is the first half over. First half over 26. I'm going to put some pizza money on this one. Kiev, the last three times these teams have played, the lowest scoring first half has been 35 points total. We know that Alabama would like to be able to run the ball. Georgia would like to be able to run the ball, but Georgia's defensive line is tremendous, the best defensive line in the country. Alabama ranks number one in run defense, according to PFF. I don't think either team can just try to run the ball up the middle and have much success. So I think we are going to see a decent amount of passing in this game. And I think they both have really good defensive coordinators. They've been able to adjust in the second halves in the past. So if I'm taking an over, I like the first half over a little bit better than the full game over. I would lean full game over as well. But what's your thoughts on this line sitting 2.5 or 3 here for Georgia versus Bama?
It's definitely not far off from being correct. And right now, it's almost to the point where do you have an edge in that just based upon your metrics? Now that can be completely wrong. I mean, I play this game because I enjoy it, and I feel I'm very metrics based. And if you're more creative based, you probably like Alabama. One bad thing I'll say about Georgia is, yeah, they put a lot of points up, but they put a lot of points up some very bad teams. The only other team besides Alabama that is a top, I would say top 10, top 12. Alabama's actually 13th in EPA on defense is Clemson, you know. And when they played Clemson, of course, it was the first game of the year. They only put up 14 points, and Clemson, we found out its defense wasn't nearly as good as they were supposed to be. So that's very concerning for me that whenever they face a tough defense, they tend to get their butts kicked. Now, people say, well, what about Michigan? Well, Michigan ranks 16th in EPA, but they also given up a lot of points to a lot of teams like Michigan State and, a couple other. Ohio State put up points, but it was just a really weird game. But Michigan's defense wasn't like a Wisconsin defense, right? Or an Alabama defense, or even a Penn State defense. The thing about Georgia's defense is it's great. And metrically, 27 yards per point it's massive. The second best is Penn State at 20. It's a 7-point difference. And that's why the metrics favor Georgia. If I just looked this and I didn't think about quarterback skill, I didn't think about coaching, Georgia's a 6.5 to 7-point favorite.
Right.
The problem is when you factor in Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner, paired up with Nick Saban and the scheming involved in all that. And just the utter fact that nobody is as good as a coach as Nick Saban brings that spread all the way down from 7 to 3 or 2, right? That's kind of what you're looking at. Now, the only really advantage I see is that we didn't see Alabama starting without Mechie. Now, Mechie got hurt when they were already kind of kicking butt against Georgia. And then Cincinnati, there was no wide receiver test. They just ran the ball over 300 yards up Cincinnati's throats. So we couldn't get any information about how good Slade Bolden is and some of the other guys. But what I do know is that if Alabama's second receivers are as any good as freaking Ohio State's, then Georgia could certainly be in some trouble looking at what Najigba did in the Rose Bowl. So that's your handicap right there. My thoughts is that I'm going to put a small play on Georgia, and I already did it at -2.5, and I'm playing much more in the prop market. I have 5 or 6 prop plays, and I'll give you 1 or 2. But I just don't see Georgia's secondary being as bad as Cincinnati. And I think that they should be able to keep up with the lower guys, being that Mechie is out. Williams is going to get his yards. If they can just kind of contain the rest of them, then Georgia can have an advantage. Second game, I always like to go towards the loser if they're really, a decent coach, I guess you'd say, with Kirby there. He's a pretty, if you just take Nick Saban out, people say he's a good coach. But, what are you going to do? I like Georgia a little bit for a star or two, but that's about it.
Yeah, I lean Georgia here too. I just am really scared to go against the better quarterback and the better coach. As a fan, I'd like to see Georgia win too. They haven't been winning. Bama's been winning. It's not so much a Alabama hatred as it is. I usually like to root for the underdog. Now, Georgia's not the underdog technically in this game, but we know that Saban's done a lot of winning. That's for sure. So um, let's talk about a few props here. I'll give you one of mine here to start with. Um, I'm going to take Stetson Bennett over half an interception. BetUS has this over half an interception at minus 125. Kiev, I have to bet this game. I have to bet this because I don't think that Georgia is just going to be able to run the ball consistently. Stetson Bennett's going to have to take some chances. He's thrown 5 interceptions in his 2 starts here against Alabama. What's to make us think that Bennett's not going to throw an interception again here? Even remember the game against Michigan where he actually got away with a couple. He did one where he ran to the side, threw across his body. It landed, harmlessly, but that's the type of play that is not going to work very often. Bennett is not a bad quarterback. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback by any means. And I actually like Bennett, fun guy. If you saw the clip about he's got a flip phone instead of a regular phone. He wanted to have more time to work on football and to have relationships and things like that. I think he's a great, great guy, fun to root for. I don't think that he is a massive playmaker, and I think sometimes he tries to do a little bit too much. And in a game like this, he has to do quite a bit. So I'm going to take Stetson Bennett over half an interception,
What's the price on that one?
minus 125.
Minus 125. I can't disagree with that one at all. I think these defenses are top of the line. And if they're desperate, that's a pick waiting to happen. So
Right.
you can get it while they're leading, or if they're desperate. It's just I think it's a great play, Kyle, and I really like that one. One thing I want to say about the props is I thought that I was going to bet a rushing total under, but the books were smart and they were good, and they came to these rushing totals and really put them down low, and that's where they should be. Brian Robinson, 65 yards. You have James Cook, 43 rushing yards. Trey Sanders, 21 yards. Zamir White, 47 yards. Extremely low rushing totals. If these teams were playing someone else, if these teams were playing someone else, Kyle and I would be making a fortune betting overs on these rushers. But you're talking about some of the best rushing defense in the defense's line in the whole game. So I wanted to mention that. But one play that I do want to give out, and I did give out the James Cook over 20 and a half yards, and that thing's up to about 24, 25 now. So in our last podcast with Nick, so I did like his receiving yards, not rushing. James Cook has been highly involved. I'm going to go with Slade Bolden. I'm going to go, Ja'Cory Brooks over 42.5 receiving yards. Ja'Cory Brooks is going to be the guy, I think, that's going to be standing in that Mechie's out. And I think he's going to have some open opportunities because I think Georgia is going to look a little bit more towards Jamison Williams. We're looking at Nick Saban here. Do you think Nick Saban is going to try to play into their hands and just force it to the better receiver? This is where the other guy really shines, in my opinion. I like Ja'Cory Brooks over 42.5 yards. And if you look at some of the previous games for Ja'Cory Brooks against, and sorry, my computer's going a little slow. Against Cincinnati, he had 4 receptions for 66 yards, and that wasn't even that much of a throwing game. Heck, Jamison Williams had 7 receptions, so he was more targeted for 62 yards. So even in this situation, Ja'Cory Brooks was that Mechie replacement from what I was seeing right here. So in my opinion, Ja'Cory Brooks, I think, is a good play, and I think there's a good chance that he's going to be the guy that makes up for it.
Yeah, I like that. I think that Jamison Williams will get plenty of yards. I think the Bama will throw the ball quite a bit here in this game. But, you got a really high total on Jamison Williams. I think it was around 115 yards the last I saw. So hard to take an over on something like that. I kind of like a lot of the other Alabama guys. Slade Bolden over 40 and a half rushing or receiving yards, I think, is a good play as well. So, yeah, I can't disagree with that. I will take Bryce Young passing and rushing yards over 323 and a half at BetUS. He threw for over 400 yards last game. He ran for several. I don't remember exactly how many he ran for, but it was quite a bit. I think Bryce Young is very capable of running for a decent amount of yards in a game like this. Small bonus, too. I'm going to take Bryce Young anytime touchdown plus 420 here. I could see a rushing touchdown for Bryce Young. I think that's a pretty big price there. So, but I like Bryce Young passing and rushing yards over 323 and a half a good amount because I think Bama will be aggressive in this one. I don't think that they're just going to run the ball up the middle with Robinson. Like you said, I actually did want to bet unders, and I did bet small Brian Robinson under 74 and a half a couple days ago. Can't really give that one out now that most places 66, 65. Pretty big difference there. I mean, you know that, but 8 or 9 yards. And Kiev knows this, but I'll just say this for all the viewers and listeners that betting on these props, it is really, really important that you shop around for the best number because there can be some big differences from one place to another. And you don't want to be taking an over and getting 5 or 6 yards worse than where you could have gotten it somewhere else. So that's important as well. But I'll take Bryce Young over passing and rushing yards over 323 and a half. Kiev, you have any thought on that one?
I like that one. I think that this is going to be a shootout this game. I think you swallow the rushing yards and there's going to be some points, and that's why I even lean to the over. It's up to 52 and a half, even though my numbers make it 50 and a half. You have to remember that there's a lot of garbage time involved in Georgia games and a lot of garbage time involved in Alabama games. And these offenses are better than what the numbers certainly say. So I'm going to give you a strong lean to the over. And I do like that for sure. I think it kind of ties into my next prop bet, which is Bryce Young over 9.5 rushing yards. I think this thing's quality. I gave it away at minus 114. Now it's at up to minus 140, but I still like it. Bryce Young ran for 40 yards the last time these two teams played. This is the championship. He is not worried about being healthy. He's not going to the NFL next year. He is worried about winning it. With Georgia, they are definitely going to be locking down a heck of a lot more on the Bama receivers. They don't want what happened last time. So the secondary is going to be ready to go, which means Bryce Young is going to roll out and he's going to take off running. I think this is an easy one. I'm going to give that away for 2 stars.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I think that Young's also really good at feeling pressure and getting away from it. So I would guess that Georgia brings a lot of heat in this game. They really have to try to get after Young here, but that also could lead to one of those 30 or 40 yard rushes there for Bryce Young. It wouldn't be surprising at all. You know, I'll give one more here, Kiev, real quick. I know we need to wrap up here pretty soon, but I'm going to go with Brock Bowers over 4.5 receptions in this game. If you look at Georgia's games throughout the course of the season, Bowers is the go-to guy for Georgia if they have to pass. Now, they haven't had to pass very often. They've had huge leads. They run the clock. I think they will have to throw in this game. I don't think either of us really think there's a very good chance that either team runs away with this in a big way. I do think this will be a close game. Georgia likely needs to throw the ball quite a bit here. Who does Stetson Bennett really like to throw to? He likes to throw to Brock Bowers. I think 4.5 over receptions is a good player on that one. So that'll be my last of my prop bets here today.
Brock Bowers, and that's a Georgia tight end, I believe.
Yeah.
Freshman tight. He's the best tight end. He's actually their leading receiver with 52
Great.
catches this year. So I like that one a lot. That's a great one. I can see him getting his yards for sure. Brock Bowers has been a force with Georgia. You wonder if Bama is going to try to contain him a little bit, is what I wonder. But I think he's so good that he's going to get his. And a guy like Stetson Bennett, they have a great back and forth. I think Brock Bowers gets at least 5 or 6 receptions for sure. I'm going to give you a long shot because I like long shots, Kyle, and it's fun. Okay. So you can put a little bit of on it, half unit, whatever you decide. But I like first touchdown scorer. We're going to go with Cameron Latu at 25 to 1. Now, the numbers on this is actually very simple. The top receiving touchdowns were from Jameson Williams at 15, John Mechie at 8, Cameron Latu at 7. The next person down has 3. Mechie's out. So that puts Latu at number 2. Big target, end zone. Secondary is going to be focusing on Jameson Williams. 25 to 1 could be a really fun payday if he gets that first touchdown for you guys.
I like that, Kiev. I think that's a good play, and 25 to 1. I mean, you don't have to put much money on it for it to be a big payout there in that one. So, if Latu is the first touchdown scorer, then we're all going to owe Kiev a big thank you after this one because that'd be a nice payday. So,
Yeah, sure would.
I'm Kiev's going to be hoping Bama gets the ball first in this game to
Yeah.
hope that it would increase those chances, right? So, Kiev, we need to wrap this up here soon. So I will say, guys, we're going to be talking plenty of college basketball in the weeks ahead here on Better Odds Sports Betting. So definitely stay tuned for that. Kiev and I both big college basketball bettors. I'm looking forward to that. We still got a couple months here before March Madness. There's going to be lots of great action there. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. But Kiev, I want to give you a chance here to talk about the oddsbreakers.com.
Yeah, check us out, theoddsbreakers.com. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Just look at, Farley bets, Steve and Chris's circa. Look at my circa. We have college basketball is my second favorite sport. And you're right, college football is over NFL for me, even though my NFL year was better this year than college. College, I'm up, 10, 15 units. NFL, I'm up more. So usually it's college for me that's higher, but that's how it is. Sports betting is back and forth. But college basketball is my passion. We do great things for March Madness. So if you want to get on board and get my college basketball plays, please check me out at the Odds Breakers.
Definitely encourage you to do so. There's lots of quality handicappers over there at the Odds Breakers, Kiev included. I know we've had Nick Hub on here. He does a great job. You have a lot of great guys there on the site, Kiev. So I would encourage everybody to check that out. And again, congratulations to Chris and Steve. Great job there in the Circa. You can head over to huntersportspicks.com for my premium plays. There's a free picks newsletter over there. I did not have as good of an NFL season as Kiev. I had a really good college football season. So 53
Best
and
I've
20.
ever seen, actually,
I
Kyle.
was
You
gonna say
were
53 and
ridiculous.
27. Um, it's not the smartest thing of me, Kiev. I know some people have already asked me, why aren't you selling some huge play for the championship game here? Kiev knows me well enough to know that I'm not just going to sell something big if I don't really actually think there's good value on it. Of course, I could get a lot of buys for that. Everybody knows that. But I want to just give you plays that I don't actually think have value. So 53 and 27 is what I'll finish in college football this year. So really, really happy with that, obviously. I'm down a bit here in the NFL, and I'm always honest about how I've done in each season. Actually, I've done well in about everything other than the NFL so far. So Kiev's been the NFL guy, Chris Farley and Steve as well. But you can head over to huntersportspicks.com for my premium plays. Like I said, we'll be having plenty of college basketball talk coming up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and subscribe to Kiev's YouTube channel as well. We'll be having a lot of content coming up in the future months, and I'm looking forward to it, guys. You can follow Kiev at OBKiev on Twitter, myself at Kyle Hunter Picks on Twitter. And thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the college football championship game, and we'll see you again next time.
And thank you, Paul, for commenting.